On today's show, we're going to break down the Charlotte Hornets beating down the Miami Heat in the fourth quarter. We're also going to talk about needle mover players over this last month of the season. I have a list, Legs has a list. And then later on in the show, we're going to look at an updated projections of the ceilings of teams in the NBA. Whose ceiling has gone up from what we said at the start of the year? All that and more on the All-NBA show. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/All-NBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Tim Legler. Legs, we had a show on Monday, and since then, both me and producer Atticus have been through hell. I've been sick as a dog for 48 hours, just coming out of it. Atticus has been stuck in airports around the world. So you're the only one that's been living large, hanging out.
Well, how do you know that? How do you know I haven't had issues myself? Maybe I just choose not to talk about it.
Maybe you don't complain as much.
Yeah,
that's
maybe that's really what it is.
Well, how is it?
It has been a pretty smooth few days for me, man. I was actually home from waking up in my own house and going to bed in my own house 2 consecutive days for the first time in a long time. So I actually had some really good time at home with my wife and my son and my pup, and it rejuvenates you, man. Now, of course, I'm back on the road. I'm in Houston with Houston Lakers tonight. But I've had you're right. I've had a very good 72 hours relative to you two.
I've been asleep for most of the last 48 hours, just trying to shake
that stinks,
this.
Man.
All right. I think I did. I don't know who has it worse, though. Atticus has been sending me texts. He's been miserable in airports. I think he hasn't slept for 2 days. So a little mixture here.
I really got to carry this show today.
You really do.
Okay, all right, yeah. All right.
Yeah, we're going to mix it up. You're going to have to carry it today, Legs. A little different than usual. We're going to get into it. We have some great stuff to talk about, but we're going to start with our FanDuel game breakdown. We always like to start by talking about the games, the actual games. So this breakdown is presented by FanDuel, and we chose the Miami Heat, the Charlotte Hornets. Yesterday was not a great slate, by the way, Legs. We've had some great slates lately, really since the All-Star break. Last night had a lot of blowout games. This one was a blowout, but at least it was close for a little while, and we haven't talked about these two teams for a while, so I thought it'd be good for us to get into it. Close game, but the close of the third quarter and the opening of the fourth quarter was a sledgehammer from the Charlotte Hornets, led by LaMelo Ball, Kon Knueppel, and Kobe White. The three-headed monster of their guards were just fantastic. Put this game away early. What stood out to you?
Well, first, if you just are looking at box scores when you wake up, you're an NBA fan, and you're browsing box scores, you think, 30-point win. They smoked them, one of those wire-to-wire jobs. This was a 5-point game with 10 seconds left in the third quarter. And the reason I say that is because Miles Bridges hits a deep three to make it 8. But it really was they get a stop right there. He misses that. So that's a 5-point game going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah. And
then 40-18 in the fourth. And they hit him with that barrage in the first 4 minutes of the fourth quarter. Of course, look, the Heat didn't have Bam Adebayo. It's obviously a major deal. And as a result, they go to their bench, and they've got a second unit in there to start the quarter. And that's really where this game got away from them. This game is less about that for me because the Heat have been playing great. 10 out of 11, they had 1 coming into this game, and they don't have Bam. So there's only so much you can take from it. This is more about the Hornets, bigger picture and in general, how you feel about the Hornets. What this reminded me of, the way they played in the first 6 minutes of the fourth quarter, was this is one of the most dynamic offenses in the NBA. They have every box checked because they've got the ability to play fast tempo because of the way LaMelo can push the ball, his decision-making and his vision in the open floor, and how fast they get the ball up the court. You've got 2 knockdown shooters. Obviously, Knueppel, Brandon Miller is the other guy. You got a third scorer in Bridges out there. And then you've got this perfect middle guy in Diabate who just crashes, sprints the floor as hard as he can to occupy, somebody back there has to check him so he doesn't get a lob. And then he's willing to screen dive the entire possession. They've got perfect chemistry amongst their starting 5. They've got a belief now, and that run they had at the start of the fourth quarter, to me, was just kind of reminding you how dangerous this team is offensively and how difficult they're going to be to play in a series. And I believe it now. It's a shame that it took so long for them to get into this with this part of the season. We're talking 15 games left, whatever it is, before they go into the playoffs. because where they're going to have to dig out from is my point. If they were able to find this earlier in the year, maybe they would have an opportunity where they're looking at trying to get into the 6 spot, 5 spot, something like that, where now you're avoiding all the diciness of the plan, because there's a very good chance here they're going to have to play out of the 9-10, right? So you're going to have to win. You're going to have to win 2 games before you even get into a playoff series. And that's not going to be easy because of the way Miami's playing, Atlanta's playing. Like, whoever you get, maybe, and that's assuming like you can beat Philly if that were the game. You then got to go on the road again and play Miami or Atlanta. That's not going to be an easy the way those 2 teams are playing. So it's possible Charlotte's season ends in the play-in. But you feel like they're better than that. And if they had this run earlier in the year, you feel like they wouldn't be in this spot at all, and they would be even more of a threat, like in the East, to really challenge somebody at the top and give them a hell of a series. Winning 2 road games potentially to get out of the play-in, Adam, that's going to be tough. But I don't think it takes away from how we feel about them overall. Like, this is a fun team, a super high-powered offensive team that would be very tough to guard for any one of those top teams in a 7-game series. The question is, will they even get to a 7-game series? That's going to be tough.
It is true. When you look at this, man, it's almost a drag. So many of the teams in the East in and around the play-in are playing their best basketball right now. Magic have been on a roll, though they lost 2 in a row. Miami Heat have been on a roll. The Atlanta Hawks have won 10 in a row, and the Hornets are 7-3 in their last 10. So those 4 teams all playing well. The only exception is the 76ers, who are trotting out a fake team right now. It's not even their real guys, and so they're free-falling. But, yeah, Charlotte, it's a bummer because I kind of want to see all of these teams in a play-in or in a playoffs. I want to see what they look like. And to your point, Charlotte is almost certainly going to have to win 2. It's possible they're the 9 seed, but even then they'll have to play that first one win, play the second one win. So they do have an uphill battle. But I love your point about their offense being so dynamic, because LaMelo Ball is, to me, and I'm curious if you agree with this, when we talk about offensive hubs, there's the Shea, Luka, Brunson type, where most of your off-ball players, they're going to be spacers, almost stagnant spacers. So their roll-off ball is a little, almost simplified. Guys like Jokic, and I think LaMelo falls into this, you need guys that are moving and reading the court for their skill set to be maximized. So you need smart players off ball. And I feel like Diabate, Kon Knueppel, Bridges, even Brandon Miller have really figured out the movement off ball and how to it's not like LaMelo holds the ball for 24 seconds. They'll touch the ball, they'll make an attack, they'll pitch it. And all those guys working together, I feel like, augments LaMelo Ball's skill set. They play around him so well so that he feels like he gets to make quick reads with a moving offense.
That's a great point. That's exactly a perfect description of their offense. And that's why they're so fun to watch. And like, of all of these teams you're mentioning that are playing well right now, and they're all interesting for different reasons. Miami, Orlando, Atlanta, they're all really interesting. None of them are as fun to watch as Charlotte because of the way that their offense operates. And they finally, look, they're young players, and it took time. And then maybe they needed to add like that perfect piece in Knueppel to connect all of them with his movement and shooting ability and the way he screens, and then he ghost screens as well as anybody in the league already as a rookie. Ghost screen popping out to the 3 and the problems that creates with communication. And then that leads to something on the backside. They're the most fun team to watch of that group. And I agree with you that it all works perfectly around LaMelo, who's a guy that I love watching just because he's so fun. And he's got so much flair to his game. And it's almost like he understands the dual role of entertainer and a guy that's got to produce as well. It's like both. He relishes that. So I like watching him play, but I feel like prior to this, and by this, I mean, let's say the last 6-8 weeks of this season, people were always kind of like, LaMelo Ball's not a winner. He's not a winner the way he plays. Like, you can't win with a guy like that. And now it's like, I never really, first of all, totally bought into that at all. But like, now I think a lot of those people are looking at it a little bit differently, because it's almost like he is the perfect guy to play with this other group of talent around him, these offensive pieces around him. I think each of those guys would not be nearly as good without these unique talents of LaMelo Ball. And now, by the way, they go out and they had Kobe White, man. What a pickup.
He was so good
a guy
last
like
night.
Kobe White, man, who is just, you play this guy 25 minutes in any game, he's a threat to get 20. And he can play with LaMelo. You can put the ball in his hands. He can run lead guard and score from that spot. So what an incredible addition. And again, I think at this point, we're just wondering, like, what's it all going to mean ultimately this season? Is it going to mean they win the 9-10, lose the next one, and they're out anyway? Like, we don't get to see them in a best of 7 because I don't see any way that they're going to climb as high as 6. They might not even get as high as 8.
Right.
It's just, you're talking about making up like
Unlikely.
2-3 games in the loss column. It's just you're running out of time. And some of those teams are playing well. So it's going to be tough. And that's the disappointing part. But maybe they're setting the table for next season. But in the meantime, let's just enjoy them right now because this is one of the most entertaining watches in the league right now.
They definitely are. Let's get now to some of these other guys. Kon Knueppel, he last night, we already talked about him breaking the rookie record for threes made, and now he's just pushing that so far. He's 22 threes away from the franchise record for the Hornets. Doing that in your rookie season is pretty incredible. But I'm not surprised. He's almost certainly going to do that, by the way. At his rate, 3.5 threes a game, you got 13, 14 games left. You should smash that record. So he'll become the franchise leader in threes made, and he'll do that his rookie season. But here's what makes Kon different than every other. To me, he's a true shooter, and nobody better to speak to this than you. Most guys that are great shooters, they come into the league and they're good at set shots, and maybe they're good at movement threes. That's what makes them special. He is great at both of those things, but he's also great at the second part of that, which is if teams are going to cover you out on the perimeter, do you know how to punish them then to take advantage of that space and get to the rim? He didn't shoot the ball great last night. What was he? 2 of 6, I believe, from the three-point line. 8 of 14 overall, because if you extend out on him, he knows how to put the ball on the ground. He knows how to run into the catch and get downhill and get to the rim. He is an all-around shooter, like not just shooter from catch and shooter from 3. He's a shooter from mid-range. He's a shooter from getting to the rim. His game is so complete with both his main strength shooting and his counter strength, which is attacking the closeout.
Every night I watch him play, he surprises me with a couple of shots he makes that it doesn't look like he's got the angle to get the shot up. So he's got a natural feel for it. And I'm talking about those runners that he hits when he attacks a closeout. The ball swung to him. They do a good job of chasing out, so he's not going to get a clean look. So then he's able to swing through and attack that closeout guy, whether it's going down the right slot or the left slot. He's really good at taking 1-2 dribbles, and then he jumps off one foot and he shoots these floating shots up off the glass. And, early, he made a couple like early in the year, you're watching him and you're like, not sure if this is like something that's like, a real part of his game, or he just happened to do it on that possession, because it doesn't necessarily look like super smooth. But now after watching him for 65 games, you're like, no, this is a big part of who he is. He's got a counter to teams that extend out. He's not just a guy that you can just go take away. Let's take this guy out of the game by face guarding him. He's good at back cutting. He's really strong. He's got this vet move that I actually employed, but it took me a number of years in the league to figure this out. When a guy would overplay you and they put their arm out in the passing lane, you yank that elbow, right? The short elbow that's up against your chest, you yank that elbow and you basically jerk it across your body, and now all their momentum is going out toward the three-point line and you back cut. I've seen Kon Knueppel do that all year. He's really good at that. And he's strong enough to really make guys move. He displaces people. He's not going to blow by you with quickness. His first step's not lightning quick, but he's really strong with the ball when he swings through. So you can have your hand on it. You're not dislodging it from him. And then that first dribble, he kind of gets you on his shoulder or hip, and he's strong enough to keep you there. So now he can continue the second dribble, and now he's off, and he's shooting this shot up off the glass. He's unfazed by like somebody right on his side or riding him to the rim. He doesn't care about that because he's got a wide base and he's really strong. He's a natural scorer, but first and foremost, he is a lethal deep shooter, and it sets up everything for him, and it sets up a lot for their team because of the way that you have to communicate on guys like that. It's a tale as old as time, man. Shooters create all kinds of communication problems when they shoot it at this level. That leads to really good stuff for other guys that sometimes you don't even notice it on a stat sheet. And that's what Knueppel does.
And LaMelo's so good because he's going to read the court. So if Kon is making a great cut off of an overplay or something like that, maybe he's open, LaMelo finds him. But LaMelo is so great, he'll figure out what the defense bends towards. So if it's a hard cut, there's a rotation, LaMelo will find the guy on the backside that's open. That's what I mean about augmenting his skill set. Obviously, Coby White was fantastic. We talk about him, but the guy who I think might be the most interesting player on their team in terms of determining what their true upside is Brandon Miller. And he gives you 16 points. He had some big shots in the fourth quarter, including a huge three that kind of broke it open. I feel like he's the swing player because even within a game, he'll have a great quarter and a terrible one. I don't think he absorbs contact very well, which is one of the things you wonder about a tall, skinny guy. Is he going to be able to do that? His shot is pretty inconsistent. There's moments he seems like he's just on fire. There's games where he seems like he can't shoot at all. But he does play within the system, I think, pretty well. And at their best, he is like the fifth guy. I think those other four guys, Kon, Diabate, Bridges, they all know exactly what they are. There's a level of consistency. Brandon Miller, to me, is the X factor, who's the one inconsistent one, but his best is perfect.
That's a pretty fair description. One thing I've noticed about him, there have been nights when their offense on a given night wasn't up to par for them for whatever reason. Some guys are having off nights or whatever. Brandon Miller has these individual runs that he goes on sometimes in the fourth quarter of games or the third quarter when, like, they're down 10. And he'll go on these 6-minute scoring binges where he racks up 10, 12 points in a really short period of time. So that threat level is really important if they ever do get into that situation where they're in the best of 7. Because he has the ability to go in these 10-point scoring bursts all by himself because he's like that talented. It's just not super consistent. And look, one of the things that's eaten into his consistency is the emergence of a guy like Kon Knueppel. It is going out and having now this team that's got a little bit more balance across the floor. It's not going to be as dependent on him. So maybe there are stretches of games where he can go 4 or 5 minutes where he's not as included and he's not like a pure shooter. So he's a little bit streaker. But I still love like the talent that he has, and like he has this flair for the moment where he can go on these runs when they desperately need it. And all of a sudden, especially if it's a home game, you'll see like, okay, they're down 8, down 10. Next thing you know, here he goes. And now the entire building erupts because of something. And sometimes in the middle of that is a spectacular dunk, a lob. He'll turn the corner on a guy, right? And he'll cock it back and throw it down on somebody. And now the whole building erupts. It's worth more than just that one basket, what it means to his team. So I think in a lot of ways, all of these pieces fit so well together. And we'll see when they really become a team that you're talking about. Okay, man, there's a new kid in town that's challenging the hierarchy in the Eastern Conference. I don't know that's going to happen this year because of where they've got to come from, but man, are they fun. And Brandon Miller, I think, he serves his purpose within this offense.
Let's go to the other side now and talk about Miami real quickly. I think this game might be a greater endorsement for Bam Adebayo than the 83 points. They were pretty helpless, I thought, on both ends of the floor without him. And there's one guy in particular that stood out to me like a sore thumb, and that is Kel'el Ware. Defensively, he had no answers in the pick and roll. He was getting burned the entire night. Offensively, he couldn't really do a whole lot. He had 7 points on 3 of 10 shooting. He is a guy that I think, because he had a good rookie season and he's been like a cog in this machine, I think that there are people that like his game or see some upside. He's one player that's always frustrated me. And you take Bam out of the equation, and I thought watching him last night, I was like, this guy cannot guard, especially such a dynamic offense. Am I being too hard on Kel'el Ware, in your opinion?
I think you are being too hard on Kel'el Ware, Adam. Yes, I'm going to.
I don't know. His game bothers me.
I know. It's obvious. There's something about his game has really ruffled your feathers, and it's interesting to me because he's gotten a lot of love this year, man. And they were giving him a lot of love on the broadcast last night, Charlotte's broadcasters, because that's the feed I was getting. And they were giving him a lot of love on the broadcast. And look, he's so young. He's got a lot to learn. I don't like when Kel'el Ware like settles
6 threes,
trail threes. Like and he shoots it without any hesitation, like off one reversal. And it's like, he takes the shot and you're kind of like, okay, I don't know if that's the best shot on that possession. But look, the league is constantly encouraging these guys to continue to extend your range and shoot it. But he does have a nice release. And I think that eventually is going to be a part of his game that maybe could be important for them. But you know what it is? He shoots it so casually, it almost looks lazy. It almost looks like he just didn't feel like going down in the paint this possession.
It is what it feels like.
I'm going to shoot this 3, and then I'll be the first guy back on defense. I don't have to sprint because I'm already here at 25 feet. Like, that's what it looks like. But I don't know that that's necessarily the case with him. There's no doubt, man, that this guy has a lot of impact most nights. So I think you are being too hard on him. I'm still buying Kel'el Ware and buying what Kel'el Ware can be over the next 2 to 3 years.
It is interesting to look at the standings, though, here. Toronto, 29 losses, Magic 30, Heat 31, Hawks 31, Sixers 32. All of those teams have a chance of avoiding the play-in depending on how these last 14 games go. All of them have a chance of falling to that 9 seed, which would obviously be really tough. You got to win 2 in the play-in. So it'll be interesting to see. As you mentioned, Charlotte's probably out of the running here just because they have to make up 4 games, which is you pretty much have to go perfect and get a little lucky on the other, with some teams losing. But those other ones, to have 5 teams vying for 2 spots in the playoffs is, I think, that's a fun finish to the year, and why these teams are playing so well.
I agree, man. It's look, and we got a game, and it's interesting because it's at the time, like you go back a month ago, and I'm looking at my game schedule. I've got a game Atlanta at Detroit, March whatever that Wednesday is, 25th or whatever that is. And you go back month ago when I got the schedule and you're like, oh, Atlanta, Detroit, like that night, OKC plays Boston. You're like, okay, we got Atlanta, Detroit. Now it's like, wow, Atlanta, Detroit, let's go. Like I'm going to get to see the Hawks in person. So look, it has become really interesting, man. And it's great for the league that these teams that, you're just looking at like with kind of like disinterest most of the year, like, okay. Now you're like, man, you want to watch these teams play, all of them, Orlando, Miami, Atlanta, Charlotte. There's 4 teams that are outside what we would consider the top tier in the Eastern Conference that now you're like, man, I really want to watch these teams. And look, the other night, Atlanta beating Orlando like that because they had the lightest 9-game winning streak I'd ever seen in terms of their schedule. You'll never see an easier stretch of games. And so, but to their credit, they're winning them all. And this is a team.
The Orlando one's a big one, though. That's an impressive win. That's an eye opener. They beat
them by 12. They get 124 on them, and they have no problem with them at all. That's like, okay, now you're like, you really need to start noticing what the Hawks are doing. By the way, one last point on this game, and there was a number here I wrote down. I didn't want to go the whole show and not mention it. We're talking about Knueppel and sorry, my computer just fell backwards. We're talking about Knueppel and the 3-point rookie record, and he's continuing to push it out. He's on pace. He's going to end up, if he stays healthy the rest of the year, doesn't miss any games, he's going to be somewhere around 285 threes made. To put that in perspective, Steph Curry did not make that many threes in a season until his 7th year in the NBA.
That's crazy.
And it was the year that he won his first MVP. That was the first year that he was able, and by the way, that year he made 402. So, and then since then, he's had 320, 350, 330, 350, so so that number changed. So there's a lot. Exactly right. So there's a whole other layer of icing on those seasons that like Knueppel, who knows if he'll ever get to, 350 in a season. I mean, that's crazy. But my point is like the start he's had to his career, it took Steph Curry 7 years to make, and this is the greatest shooter in the history of the league, to make that many threes in a season. Now it speaks to a lot of things. Speaks to Knueppel, how good he is. It speaks to obviously the volume in the league in general, that like there's so many more threes taken even now. You're going back, that's 10 years ago. And so there's just more opportunities. Do the math on it. There's more chances. More guys are taking 7, 8, 9, 10 threes early in their career than they did back then. Curry, like to put it in perspective, Curry didn't average as many threes as Knueppel's taking until his 6th year in the league.
It's crazy.
So that puts it, but I just wanted to kind of put a bow on the year he's having and how historic it is and how long it took the greatest shooter of all time to get to that level in an individual season.
He's been fantastic, man. Let's take a break. On the other side, I want to get to this segment here. We talked about needle movers or really just intriguing players over the home stretch here. We're going to talk about those from each conference. We both made a list. We'll get to those on the other side. It's nonstop, big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every night. Now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger wins. With a college basketball parlay profit boost, here's how it works. Build any college hoops parlay you like, the early tip, the rivalry game, the ranked matchup, the late night West Coast shootout. Mix spreads, totals, props, whatever fits your read of the slate. Then just apply your profit boost and instantly bump up that potential payout. Go safe, go spicy, go with the team you've been following all season. If your parlay, your style, now go with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com/AllCity to get started. FanDuel, play your game.
Must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
You know that moment, that one where you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach, on the roof of your car, at a gas station 3 states away? Well, I've been there too. But now you've got Shady Rays, and they've changed the game. They're sunglasses that are made for real life, seriously good looking, polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive. It is sunglass season right now. 80 degrees in Denver today. Really 80 degrees all week. We're in fake spring. It is total sunglass weather out there. The wild part with Shady Rays, though, is if you lose or break your sunglasses, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. So you can actually wear your sunglasses without fear on hikes, at concerts, on the boat, wherever. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. Go to shadyrays.com and use the code ALLCITY for 40% off of 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Back here, segment 2 of the All NBA show. Make sure you hit the like button and make sure you're subscribed. We're doing this 3 times a week. Today with Tim Legler. We'll be back on Friday with Jason Tim. Legs, you wanted to talk about needle movers in each conference. We both made lists of 3 guys that we think are going to make a major impact down the stretch. Let's start. You give one, I'll give one. Eastern Conference, who's first on your list?
James Harden.
Okay.
James Harden. Because look, he has a chance, and he's not doing it by himself, because that's a good team. And, you know, they made this move. I thought the risk was worth it when they took the move. They brought him in to change the narrative around how viable it is that they win the Eastern Conference, because I don't think anybody was buying into it. Even last year when he won 64 games, there was so much doubt going into the postseason. It turns out a lot of that doubt was justified, because they were banged up, and that's part of it. But that's not, you can't make excuses in the playoffs, man. And this year they start out, they were kind of underwhelming. They make this move. And so now I'm looking at him and saying, he's going to have moments to completely validate in so many ways, honestly, what he's been throughout his career in the postseason with this team. Because I still think with Detroit's struggles recently and some of the issues they're going through and some of the challenges they have shooting, it's open, man. Detroit, Boston, New York, Cleveland, any one of those 4 teams. We just talked about all these other teams surging, the bottom teams that are going to make these series tougher in the first round than we thought. But it's really about those 4 teams. And so I still think for all of them, the path is there. And James Harden, to me, will be the single biggest determining factor for the Cavaliers. And it's not just going to be, oh, man, he can make plays with his passing that Garland couldn't. Like, that's true. That's the big reason they made this move. It can't just be he's going to give you that 18 to 20 on a given night. No, there's going to be moments where Mitchell's struggling because his 3-point shot's not falling, and it's like a key moment in a game that could turn a series. You're going to need James Harden to be his best. And he has struggled with that at times in the postseason in the past. That's why he has an opportunity to erase a lot of that. If he can have a couple of those moments in the first couple rounds of the playoffs to get this team to the conference finals, that it's going to, in a lot of ways, man, it's going to erase some of his past playoff failures. He has it all in front of him, because I do believe any one of those 4 teams could still win the Eastern Conference.
Why do you think they've struggled a little bit here as of late? And I guess it hasn't been as pronounced. It's really, they've lost 3 of their last 7, 3 of their last 8, actually. But, you know, his numbers are a little bit down. I guess that's logical coming from the Clippers. He's down about 6 points per game. But why do you think it is? And what does the final form look like? Is he scoring more? Is his usage higher? Or is it at the level that they're at, they just all kind of mold together a little bit better?
Yeah, I think for me, I think the biggest reason, you know, you're missing Jared Allen. Jared Allen's playing the best basketball of his career. I mean, he took his game offensively to a place that no one thought was possible. Averaging over 20 points a game for a month. I mean, that's not Jared Allen. And like, even the last game I saw him really before he got hurt was Cleveland, Detroit. It was a great game, overtime game. He had 20 plus in that game, making just like these floaters and stuff and like these shots off awkward angles. And it's just not his game, man. He's a rim runner. He catches lobs, pocket passes, gets on the offensive glass. He was doing stuff that was just so outside of the norm for him. And he's been out, and it's a big factor. They need to be whole. Like, they're not the deepest team in the world on their bench. Like, they need all of their starters and the couple of key bench guys that they have that they're counting on to play well. They need all those pieces because their size, when Allen and Mobley are playing together, is a differentiating factor for them relative to some of those other teams at the top. It's a problem that teams have to figure out how to solve on given nights when they're playing. When you take them out, I think it's a big difference to their team.
My first guy on my list is similar to yours, I guess, in some way, in that it's a superstar, and it's Joel Embiid, who allegedly is close to being back. The Sixers, what a strange year from them. They've had some moments where they get on a run, and then they have moments like they're in right now where the team they're trotting out there right now, Legs, not a basketball team, not an NBA team. They are hopeless. They were down 30 points to Denver last night. I'm watching that game and seeing the guys on the floor. There's no spirit to the team. Some teams have been able to lose key players, but the identity of the team stays the same, or the toughness stays the same. Last night, it's like the Sixers walked in knowing they weren't going to win. We talk about it's late in the year. How can a team like ramp up and get ready for the playoffs? From what I saw, just from the effort and energy and spirit of the 76ers, I'm not sure even getting Maxey and Embiid back is going to turn that around. But we are talking about only being 2 games out of the 6th seed. And, you know, if they can get healthy, the main guys will be rested. I know Maxey is a little bit further out. Can Joel Embiid drag this team to like a 7 or 8 seed so they at least have good odds at making it out of the play-in? And can they be healthy in the playoffs to still be the team that has a bunch of superstar talent on it? I have no idea, but we're going to see him, I think, as early as this week.
Here's what's crazy about him, and I'll answer your question at the end of this. He has played 5 games in almost 7 weeks. In those 5 games, he averaged 29 points a game on 52% shooting and 42% from the 3. Rebounding numbers are just way down for him, and that just speaks directly to his lack of lift and explosiveness. 7.5 rebounds for him in that same stretch. Almost a non-factor, like in a lot of ways defensively because of his lack of mobility, but he can still score, man. He's got this incredible touch. He draws fouls. He could score on anybody, but 5 games in 6.5 weeks. So for me, I'd have to give him the biggest benefit of the doubt I've ever given anybody, that he can actually do that. But Adam, you can't completely dismiss it.
That's it, and that's exactly it.
That's the problem with this guy. Like, how can you? He won an MVP, man. He's one of them. He scores as easy as anybody in this league. And you've got Maxey there, and you've got Edgecombe, who's a great rookie. You know, you're looking at this team going, man, how can you just automatically say, forget about them? But I do feel like I have to suspend common sense to think that would happen. Based on his lack of availability historically, how banged up he typically is in the playoffs. And that's when he hasn't missed all this time going in. So he better come back soon. It sounds like he is. So he's going to get maybe 12 games in, 10, 12 games before the postseason. If he's still upright and playing well when the season ends on April 12th or whatever that last Sunday is, this could legitimately be one of the scariest playing teams ever, or a six seed potentially.
Maybe that is their ceiling this year, is just spoiling another team in the play-in. Maybe that's it. All right, who's next on your list?
Next one is going to be Derrick White.
Ooh, I don't.
Because I'm going to give Jason Tatum the benefit of the doubt. Now, I just said I wouldn't give it to Embiid because of the long track record, but I'm going to give it to a guy that just missed an entire year practically with an Achilles rupture, who's only had, a handful of games under his belt, because I think he's going to get there. What I've seen out of Jason Tatum, it's obvious to me he's still favoring that foot in terms of how he lands, which means it's also he's not taking off with the same force. And I'm not saying he's hurting. He's just cautious. He's going to shed that as time goes. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that's going to happen. I still think while that's going on, because it might not even be necessarily in the first rounds of the playoffs, they're going to need Derrick White to get them through some spots. because I think Jaylen Brown's going to be fine. He's had an incredible year. I think Tatum will eventually get there. But I'm talking about between now and, say, game 3 of the second round when Tatum finally breaks out. They're going to need Derrick White to kind of navigate that period of time and survive that period of time. And that's why I think he's so important. His shooting splits are, to me, they have to come up with Tatum back on the court. He has not shot the ball well all year. His scoring numbers have gone up recently, but he's still only shooting like a 41% clip for the season, 33 from the 3. That's not who Derrick White has been historically. I think it's going to get better with Tatum out there. I think there's going to be more nights Derrick White plays like an all-star, and they're going to need that to solidify their spot to make a run at getting to the finals.
The nice thing about Boston is in that 2 seed, and I assume they'll hold on, even though they're only a game up, 2 in the loss column of the Knicks, but I think they'll hold on to that spot. I just think they beat all of the teams in the play-in. We just talked about how good those play-in potential teams are: Orlando, Toronto, Miami, Atlanta, Philly, Charlotte. I still think Boston's just clearly better than them. And so not only do you get a month to get what you're talking about, this chemistry, but you probably get a first-round series that gives you a little bit of cushion for them to get all sorted. So interesting one. He wasn't on my list here. Next guy I'm going to go for is Mikal Bridges. He, to me, is the swing factor for the Knicks. 10 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, shooting 30% from 3 over his last 15 games. Doesn't really get to the line. He basically on offense, I mean, he was this offensive like 3-and-D player for many years. I'm not sure he's considered that anymore just because his three-point shot isn't that reliable. And just what we said about Kon Knueppel, you can hit the 3, but now you also have the counterweight. I don't think he has either side of that. And when you look at them, he might be the guy that wins or loses games just based on is he able to contribute offensively when teams overload off of him. I think he's their swing factor for the Knicks.
When he is aggressive, when he's more included in the offense, when he's making shots, you definitely view them differently because you know Brunson's going to do his thing. Towns is going to he's going to fluctuate a little bit, but it's almost like Towns. They've tempered the expectations for Towns in general because of this entire year. It seems like it's just been tougher for him to have these big nights. Anunoby, I feel, is very capable of stepping it up when he has to offensively in a given night. So, like, Bridges is the guy. Like, in the way he's playing right now, like, this is the worst he's played all year, so the timing's bad. When he has those nights when he gives you 16, 18 efficiently, you do view him differently because now you're like, man, look at this. It's all over the floor now. You got Brunson, you got Towns, you got Anunoby's playing well, and now you add Bridges to the mix as well. That's when you look at the Knicks differently. So I think that's a good one. His swings are pretty wild, and right now he's in a downturn that he needs to reverse before they get into the playoffs for everybody to buy into them a little bit more.
And they might be vulnerable, in that first round. You never know. Just we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. All right, who's next on your list?
All right, now I'm going to go with a legitimate, true superstar because we said Harden, and who was your first one?
Joel Embiid.
Embiid. Okay, so they're both guys that are obviously superstars. They won MVPs, but in their current form, like Harden at this stage of his career and Embiid with all the injuries. So it's like, okay, this is a guy that's doing it now, but he's going to have to be even better. It's Cade Cunningham because I'm looking at the Pistons, and they have issues. If you can figure out a way to make him just really good and not spectacular, and you force their wings to shoot the ball or get the ball in place they're uncomfortable, their defense has shown some cracks here lately. It's not what it was earlier in the year lately. Now, everybody goes through it at different times. They haven't really hit one of the stretches till now where you kind of look at them a little bit differently. They hadn't even lost – I think they had lost consecutive games one time until recently. All year. So you never really felt it. Now you're feeling a little bit, okay, this is interesting because now their offense is exposed more. Ausar Thompson, Ron Holland, like these guys now, like you're looking at them and they're going, okay, Duncan Robinson gets face guarded and gets 0 points in the game. And now you're like, wow, they're vulnerable because their defense isn't quite what it was. Cade Cunningham can put all of it to bed on any given night. If he can be like an MVP caliber player most of the time, for Detroit in the postseason, he can single-handedly negate that narrative. He can shut that down by himself. Defense is not quite what it was. Guys aren't good enough around him to make shots. You know what? Cade has an answer anyway because I think his game is that versatile because of his size, strength, shooting ability, and his ability to get to the rim. He has the potential to do it damn near single-handedly some nights, and he's going to have to, I think, for the Pistons to actually get to the finals.
You and I attacked the same question in different directions because I ended up going with Ausar Thompson as my last one here. And I actually had Dennis Jenkins first. I had Karis LeVert. I was trying to fill in because to me, it's almost anybody but Cade. And I agree with you that Cade has been in a little bit of a rut here, as the Pistons have been, but they've been shorthanded, some guys. And I'm looking at this more as Cade has to have somebody else that's reliable, especially from either I wanted to go with like a shot maker or a shot creator. That's why I was thinking Karis LeVert or one of these other guys. I ended up going with Ausar Thompson because I think the Pistons' best path is that they're just elite defensively and make every game a grind. I don't think they can do that without Beef Stew and without Ausar Thompson. And so there's a lot on Ausar Thompson's plate. Can he get them back to being the defensive juggernauts they were for most of this season, but have not necessarily been over the last 15 games or 10 games, whatever it's been? I'm worried about the Pistons' legs, and so I didn't know where to go. I just did not think Cade Cunningham personally. I almost thought it was everybody but Cade.
See, and here's why I went in a different direction, because obviously the Pistons, you're talking about needle movers. We're talking about teams that are super relevant, right? So I went right to the top of the conference. I'm looking at these teams.
Yeah,
I don't expect what you're saying to happen. Like, I don't expect there to be something there out of Ausar Thompson offensively that we haven't seen all year. I don't expect it from Jenkins. I don't expect it necessarily from LeVert, who's played less minutes, taken less shots.
Help is not on the way.
He ever has in his career. Ron Holland. You look at these guys, Holland and Thompson, you have to play them because of their defensive energy, and it's a huge part of your cultural identity, like how you win. They're 22 and 27% from the three-point line, and like it really hurts your spacing when you don't have to worry about it. You can actually dare them to shoot it. Jenkins is like 35%. Even Tobias Harris is like 34. Like, that's why I'm saying I don't know that it's even there for those guys to dial that up where they have that kind of an impact. And that's why I go, well, then it's got to be Cade Cunningham, even better than he's been in the regular season. And look, there have been players historically, great players, that have actually been better in the postseason, despite the fact that they had first-team all-league regular seasons. They could still find a way to be better because they're that good. I think Cade Cunningham is that good. So can he do it? He's going to have to, in my opinion, for them to have a real run at the Eastern Conference.
Well, let's run through our Western Conference picks here. Let's try to go a little quickly here. Who's first on your list?
First guy on my list is De'Aaron Fox, because I'm looking at De'Aaron Fox. He's got 7 playoff games under his belt in his career.
Yeah, this will be interesting.
Okay. You've got a really young team. You got Victor Wembanyama. You got Stephon Castle. You got other guys been around a little bit like Vassell, Keldon Johnson. They're a little bit, veteran. They've got some war scars on them, but they're a young team. The key guys, Harper, the guys you're really counting on. This is going to be different than it's been. Like, they're going into the playoffs, and there's now those expectations like, hey, could this team get to the finals? Could they win a title? De'Aaron Fox has the answer offensively to what you're going to need in the postseason when the game's a little bit more physical. Guys that are going to go through this as young players, and like the consistency you need, they might struggle with it. De'Aaron Fox could be the answer for them because he's that good. He's that quick. He's that hard to guard. He's capable of having 30 on any given night. I look at De'Aaron Fox as like the guy that could potentially dial it up and do the things that some people think this team's capable of.
I like that one. I think that one's a really good one, especially as we get through this home stretch, because the pressure has been off, I think, San Antonio for most of the year. They've overperformed expectations. They're comfortably the 2 seed. They'll be a lock to be the 2 seed, or, I guess there's an outside chance at 1, but they're a top 2 seed. The pressure's off, but that'll switch. It'll boomerang so hard from going like we haven't had pressure for 2-3 months to all of a sudden immense pressure now as it turns to the postseason, a team that's never been there. So I like that one for De'Aaron Fox. I went with J-Dub. Has J-Dub, to me, we talked about this the other day, can the Thunder win if he is merely good? Not transcendent, not second best player, just part of the system and helps out and doesn't play bad but plays good. I'm still not sure what the answer is of that, but the fact that he just hasn't played much this year, sometimes a team builds an identity without you. He's played 26 games. They played by far more games without him than with him. And maybe this team's identity has evolved in his absence in a way that we won't really notice until we get to the playoffs.
He's a great one, obviously, man. You talk about a needle mover. This is a guy that had a 40-point game in the finals.
He kind of won them the championship last year. Not in terms of Shea was obviously the best, but they got stuff out of him that got them over the hump.
I memean, it's been described as one of the most significant individual performances in the history of the franchise. Yeah. The 40-point game in Game 5. So he's a great defender, and he seamlessly blends in with those other guys. The question is, like, when's he coming back? What's he going to look like? Is he going to have rhythm? I personally think that any version of him isn't going to be like awful, and they do have enough depth, despite him not being his best, I think, to still potentially win the Western Conference and win a title. I do believe that there's enough there if everybody else is healthy.
All right, who's next on your list?
Next guy is your guy, Payton Watson.
Hey, he's on my list too. We both have this one.
All right, so we can cover him a little quicker. Payton Watson, for obvious reasons, he's been out. I don't even know what 17 games now is it? I think something like that, right?
6+ weeks, I believe.
6 weeks, and what we saw out of him before he got hurt was a player that they did not have at the start of the year. They certainly didn't have last year when they were trying to beat the Thunder in the postseason. He's a different player, and injecting that back into this formula for the Denver Nuggets whenever he comes back, which sounds like it's soon, right? I mean, I thought maybe he was already have played by now.
I think he'll play on Friday. That's my hunch.
Right around the corner. So what he could mean in Adelman finally having everybody at his disposal, Aaron Gordon back, Christian Brown's been back for a while. You add Payton Watson to the mix as well. That X factor wild card type guy that now is not just a guy that can come out there and guard people and maybe get us 6 or 8 points. You're talking about a guy now that on some night when Jamal Murray's struggling, Jokic isn't maybe his best. This is another guy that now is capable of getting you 25 points in a game. Yeah. And so to throw that in there this late in the year, fascinating. So I think we both had him on there for obvious reasons.
Denver needs defense and they need athleticism. Denver's not a very athletic team. He's a very athletic player, and you feel that when Denver goes against some of your more athletic teams. You feel the lack of guys that can just shake free on cuts, finish above the rim, and those different things. Payton Watson to me is a huge piece for them. And him getting back, I mean, I'm so curious for Denver. This last stretch is very favorable. I think they've had a tough schedule. It's a very favorable schedule, these last 13 games, and you get Payton Watson back. I just think he could be the difference. I know it sounds crazy. I think he could be the difference for Denver. You got one more. So we both had him. I'll give you my last one, then you can give yours. Marcus Smart to me. And here's why. The Lakers are feeling themselves right now. They're playing very good basketball. They're getting their big three to figure out how they're supposed to play together. I think LeBron, it's underrated how he is shifting his game to augment Luka and now Austin Reeves. It's been great. But I still think in the playoffs, it's going to come down to guys like Rui and Kennard and Marcus Smart, because teams are going to just make the choice of let's force them to be decision makers and finishers. Marcus Smart is shooting 41% over the last month. I don't think that's who he is, but if he can be that in a series, all you need is timely shots from those guys. I think a lot of the Lakers' success is going to come down to fourth quarter 3-point shots from guys like Marcus Smart.
I like him a lot. He was my second choice from the same team.
So you have somebody else on this team?
I do, and it's LeBron James.
Oh, well, okay.
LeBron James.
He is a needle mover.
Yeah, well, no, but here's the thing. Think about it. Like, what is LeBron James now, like, on this team? It's what he's been lately at their best, and that is acceptance of a different way to operate their offense. He has played more like, in the half-court sets, more like a traditional power forward.
I agree. I think it's underrated that he's doing this, to be honest with you. I don't think,
yeah, I agree with you, Adam, 100%. And we just talked to JJ last week. We got the game again tonight. We'll talk about it again before the game. Like, it's obvious a lot of things are going on with LeBron to affect his team. One is that, like, I don't think he was fully necessarily completely bought into, like, this is going to be all of a sudden, like, Luka is going to just determine everything, and I'm not going to get to play the way I like to play, the way I've played throughout my career. I think that's difficult for any player of his caliber to finally come to terms with it. And I think a conversation that he had with JJ Redick, I think, is just kind of precipitated the way it looks differently now. It's going to be Luka and then Austin Reeves and then LeBron. Not that he doesn't get opportunities, because they have him out there with the second unit and he looks more like his traditional role. But when he's out there with both of those guys, it's more of screener, short roll, catch it in the middle, post up, get on the offensive glass, like ways that we, never really attributed to him to affect game, a guy on his level. He has accepted it. They've won 9 out of 10. This, and look, by the way, it's not just winning. We just had their game last week against Denver. The eyeball test told me they're playing harder, which tells me their energy and the vibe in their locker room is better. Everything is better right now. Now, the question is, chicken or the egg? Did the attitude change precipitate the winning? Or was it the other way around? They started winning games, and now everybody's in a better mood. I think it was a little bit of the change in attitude about how they had to approach their business led to the winning. And it's part of it is they're just playing harder. The other part is offensively, it's fitting better because of how they're using their pieces. And that's why, for me, LeBron, to continue to accept that, to continue to play at a high level despite like a diminished role in a lot of ways offensively, is the key to everything for them. A month ago, they looked like they were not a factor. They weren't. This is not a title contender. You can't dismiss a team with Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves on it with the way they're playing right now. Like, so for me, I'm really curious to see how they finish out the regular season. And we get another look at them tonight against Houston, so I'm excited about that.
I would call what LeBron's doing being a superstar in your role, which we usually talk about for role players. LeBron is obviously still good enough to be a star, but he's doing things that are sort of role player-ish, and he can extend his career. We talk about how long will he play. If he's comfortable with these types of roles, which by no means is like I said, he's just a guy. He's still LeBron James. But contributing in the ways that he has, I honestly think he could play 5 more years, just doing this and being a
totally
guy that
agree.
fills the gaps.
Totally agree with you.
I don't think he can play 5 more years as LeBron, give him the ball, everybody build around him, but he can play 5 more years like this. And that's
and I can tell you,
highly
I'm going to tell you
impactful.
something else too, Adam. I noticed the other night, and you really see this when you're at the game. He was having fun. He was having fun. He was laughing and smiling. His interactions with Luka were just better. They were just more positive. And maybe I read into it too much earlier. I don't know. We've never heard him say anything to this regard. But I mean, I think I'm pretty good at reading body language and just reading situations. And we cover the Lakers so much. We were constantly around the team. And I would just be watching it. Some nights maybe they weren't even playing together. They're in street clothes, but you're kind of watching that too. And he looks lately energized, happy, creating levity. And that's a really important thing, man, when you show up to work every day and it looks, at least from the outside, the guys are enjoying who they're going to work with more than they did earlier in the year. That affects winning. It affects your overall psyche, man, because it's a grind when you don't have it. And it feels like they've found it right now. And that's why they're clicking, man, playing their best basketball of the year at exactly the right time.
Well, let's talk about ceilings then for some of these teams, and I'll run through these really quickly here, Legs, because I know we're running up on time, but a couple teams I think stand out. We did ceilings projections. This was like best case scenario for teams, realistic best case scenarios. We updated it middle of the year. I said I thought the Celtics could make the finals. You said you thought they could make the Eastern Conference Finals. Since then, they got Jason Tatum back, and he looks pretty good. I'm upgrading. I think they can win the finals is their ceiling. I'm not saying I'm picking them to, but best case scenario is the Celtics can win the finals. What about you?
I'd actually agree with you. I'd agree with you on that. It's more than just get to the final. There was a time I felt like didn't matter who won the East. They were going to finish second to whoever won the West. And I think now Boston, they've impressed me so much with what they look like when he hasn't played. Now you add this incredible offensive player back, and assuming, he hits his peak offensively, they're so good defensively. They take care of the ball. They defend the paint. They share it. They shoot it. They've got great culture, belief, extremely well coached. Yes, I agree with you.
Another one that's interesting, the Knicks. We had at the beginning of the year, I said they could win the finals. You said they could lose in the finals. We both halfway through the year kind of stuck with that. I think they could win the finals if they had the absolute perfect rollout of teams, but I think more likely their ceiling is more conference finals now. I'm a little lower on the Knicks. Maybe I'm prisoner of the moment, but I don't know. I have a hard time seeing the Knicks going all the way.
I would concur. I had them losing in finals. I would agree with that. I still think they're capable of winning the Eastern Conference because you don't know how it could go.
Breaks,
you don't know how that's going to play out, but I don't know. I would believe in them as much. If Boston is able to navigate 3 rounds, that's going to tell you about where they're at, where Tatum's at. And that's why we would give them a legitimate shot. As for me, probably the only team in the Eastern Conference. If that's the last team standing, I think they would have a chance to win it all. I don't know that the Knicks, Cavs, or Pistons, I would feel the same way about going up against OKC or San Antonio.
With the Cavs, you said at best conference finals, most likely second round exit. That feels about right to me. I suppose it is possible they make the finals, though. Just like you said, we don't know how it's going to break in the East, but I would say the most likely outcome to me is below finals, not making it out of the Eastern Conference.
Probably right. I mean, that second round, is right now, if it played out the way it is now, they'd have the Pistons in the second round. And look, Pistons have no collective playoff experience winning anything.
Well,
so there's a lot more playoff experience on the side of the Cavaliers. You get into a series like that could factor in.
So Pistons for me, I said lose in the finals. You said make the finals. I'm worried about the Pistons' legs. Their ceiling, we're doing ceilings. Their ceilings is probably still that. I can't imagine them winning the finals. Making the finals at this moment, though, seems even unlikely to me. I'm worried the Pistons are a first or second round exit, which, by the way, is not the worst for them. They're still a team on the rise. But when you're a 1 seed, you hope for more than that. I'm just worried that they are too flawed for playoff series.
I still think they have a chance to win the Eastern Conference. I mean, I don't have such conviction with those other top three.
That's the thing that's
they
saving
couldn't
them.
do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I tell you what, I mean, it's possible you could get Pistons and Hornets in the first round.
It's so fun, man. I want to
that
see
would
that
be
one.
amazing.
I hope
we
we
ended up with that series. Yeah, I know.
We need the Hornets to really make a run here, just for intrigue. Let's go to the Western Conference. Lakers here. I swear we've done this at the exact perfect moment because we both, when we last did this, had Lakers as winning the finals being their upside. They had a horrible stretch right after we did this, but now they're back on an upswing. I don't know if I can picture them winning the finals, but they are playing really good basketball, and it is coming together for them in a way that I think is you got to be optimistic. I'm still going to say, just given the route they'll have, conference finals seems like their upside, but I don't know. Maybe the ceiling's higher. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think they could lose in the second round, or they could win the West.
They could lose in the first round, depending on who they play. You get a Denver Lakers first round.
That's true,
Denver,
man.
Minnesota.
That's true. That's true. They probably have, to me, the broadest
range,
floor to ceiling.
Yeah, you might be right about that. And their regular season has played out that way.
It's just so hard, man. To just I'm looking at this team and they have Luka Doncic on the team, and you're going and with top tier talent next to him on either side, and you're going, yeah, no shot. You know what I mean? With what we've seen from Luka Doncic and like what he's capable of, like in the playoffs. So I'm not ready to complete. And it'd be stupid to say now. No, they've won 9 out of 10. They're playing better. They've played all year, and now we're going to say no. No, I can't do it.
That's a great point. The Nuggets, we said they could win the finals at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year. Now towards the end, I still believe it. Denver hasn't had the best season, but I still think that they.
I think we nailed that. I think that's fair.
Yeah, the Wolves second round exit or might be first round exit. I'm going to go high. I still think the Wolves are one of these teams that in the playoffs are just going to be a tough out. I think conference finals feels more likely as the ceiling just because I think with Anthony Edwards out, there's a good chance they're the 6th seed, which means they're going to have a really tough route to the conference finals, let alone the finals. So that feels like it to me. Maybe second.
Are you at all concerned that they're talking about Anthony Edwards missing a week to 2 weeks and then being reevaluated?
I mean, of course, because this is the time of year where every little slide costs you. I think they're going to be the 6th seed. There's a chance they fall to the 7th seed if they fall apart here. And they have a tough schedule, by the way, to close out. One of the toughest of all those teams in the West.
I personally can't envision Minnesota winning more than one round. And I think even winning one round as a road team with it, let's say it's, they ended up playing the Lakers. Now, they probably have a good shot of beating the Rockets if it turned out that way. If it's the Lakers, I'm not sure, especially the way the Lakers are playing now. They continue to play well going into the postseason. I'm not picking Minnesota, I don't think, to beat the Lakers in a best of 7 on the road.
Well, we have 2 more teams here to get to, and one of them is the Rockets. We said that at the beginning of the year that we thought they had a chance to win the finals. Both of us said that. I don't think that's the case anymore. I would be floored if they won the finals. I think that they're more likely second round might be their ceiling. I just think they're too flawed, too being beat up.
I agree with you. I don't think they can win the finals. I don't think they can win the West. I don't think they can win more than one round, and there's a good chance that they lose the first round.
I don't think they figured out who they are well enough to win a
title. What I watched the other night, and I know Şengün didn't play, and that's a big factor. Well, when their last game Monday night, they played the Lakers. It's a rematch tonight, the game we're calling. Their offense in the fourth quarter was like the most shocking thing I've watched all year offensively out of a team that we would label a contender.
Yeah.
And all they did was throw simple blitzes at Durant out near midcourt. And their inability to figure out a way to attack 4-on-3 and 3-on-2s on the weak side because of their lack of additional playmakers if Şengün's not on the floor was incredible to me.
Yeah.
Their spacing wasn't good. Guys were indecisive. Durant kept having to get it back, like deep in the clock and try to go again. And then Durant's comments after the game were strange, talking about maybe I'll just go stand in the corner and let these guys play without me. Like it was just a weird passive-aggressive type comment. Like, so they're not in a great place, clearly, mentally. And so for me, despite their rebounding and their defense and adding Kevin Durant to the mix, I just don't think they've solved their offensive issues when the game's on the line. That's gonna be their undoing.
The last one here is fascinating. Coming into the year, we both said the Spurs first round exits their upside. Then we changed it to second round exit. You said no change. And now I'm going to say win the NBA Finals. The Spurs have just checked all the boxes. I mean, we did this like in January, early January or something. It was pretty early before this. They have been fantastic since. I still think it's going to be tough because they're so young and unproven. But absolutely, I think their upside is NBA champions.
I think you're right. You cannot like count out a team that's just what's capable of doing defensively, what they're capable of. And the thing is, I love about them, we've talked about this, they can beat you any number of ways. Yeah. They can beat you in a half-court, slower down game because their defense is so good. They can beat you if you want to play fast and shoot threes. They can beat you that way. They can beat you any way you want to play. And they've got depth. And the other thing I love about them, they've got an innate toughness about them.
They are tough. Yeah, I agree.
They're a tough team, man. They physically take on challenges. And then just what Wemby can do to make up for a bad shooting night collectively by what he can do defensively to disrupt everything you're doing, you can't rule them out.
We got 2 quick super chats here. Let's go to them. Psycho Blue says, for anyone in the know, how are totals of back-to-backs decided when it's time for NBA scheduling? Some teams clearly have more back-to-backs than others, which naturally fuels all sorts of conspiracy theories. I've been thinking about this a lot, Legs, because I really do think Denver's schedule this year has just been an absolute monster. They, at one point this last weekend, had played more games, more back-to-backs, and more road games than anyone in the NBA by like 3 games. It was really been tough. But I think it has to do with the television. You have now Amazon, Peacock, NBC, ESPN. You have so many mouths to feed that I think a lot of your top teams, they get shoehorned into, well, we have to give Peacock 4 games of the Nuggets. We have to give 3 to Amazon. We have to give 2 to ESPN. And because of that, you have to say, okay, well, they have to play Thursday. They have to play this day. So I think the more television partners has made the schedule more difficult.
I think that's probably the number one primary reason. You just hit it on the head. And I will also say this, the only people that genuinely get concerned with this are the teams themselves that feel like they're going through it, and then a fan of that team.
Because that's how you notice it.
Okay,
you
so
hence, otherwise.
Hence, I don't have any passion about this topic.
Fair enough.
The only way I have passion about it is if we have a marquee matchup in a game I'm going to call or be a part of, and for some reason one of those teams played the night before and they flew in and all that. And you're like, oh, great. Yeah, no,
there's nothing worse.
Then I care. But for the most part, this is a fan thing of their team and nitpicking it. And something tells me if you really dove into it, a lot of teams are in the same boat.
Well, we'll find out. I'm doing a little research here. We'll find out.
Right.
Let's go to Sebastian Q. He says, love the show. We need a banner of the current topic. All right. Well, there's some feedback for the show.
Right.
Get to it, Atticus. What's
Come on, Atticus.
Said? Jeez,
man, Chris Bosh getting comfortable over there.
Yeah, it sure is.
What's up with that?
Johnny Keene says, as of now, who would Legs pick to win East and West? Oh,
ooh.
Put you
on
if I had
to pick right now, I would pick Boston and Oklahoma City.
I think that's how I would pick it too. I think for me, it's hard to picture Oklahoma City losing with how great they've played. Injuries maybe are the big question, but I would go there. But that's why we play the games. We got a month left. Hit that outro music for us. We went long, Legs. I appreciate you hanging around. Appreciate everybody hanging around for us. I'm back with Jason Tim on Friday, but we got a whole lot of basketball in between then and now. March Madness starting up tomorrow. I'm going to be at the DNVR bar just watching games all day. And then, of course, the NBA as well. Everybody, hit the like button for us on the way out. See you again next time.
We all silly like the mayor.